Action is the only thing in life that truly matters.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Andrew Freed, and this is where we talk with entrepreneurs, business leaders, and thought leaders on their thought process for wealth building and designing an amazing life. Today, we have a fantastic guest. Today, we have Matt King. The CEO of GoBundance. This guy leads one of the largest masterminds in the world with a collective net worth of over $5 billion. And he's also led very large family offices as well. Very talented guy. So we're going to be learning about his life, his thought on investing and GoBundance in general. Later, learning about some really cool endeavors he's doing when it comes to raising money for underprivileged women and children. I think you're riding across America, right? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, man, from Mexico to Canada.
Mexico to Canada, literally 150 miles a freaking day. So this guy's an absolute killer. So how you doing today, Matt?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Thank you for all you do. I think the world needs more Andrew Freed in it. And what I mean by that is like people that are willing to put a stake in the ground, even if it means that they have to commit to shaving off their beard, leaving their W-2 and pursuing the life and the vision that they have for themselves. And I'm just honored to be here.
Oh, I really appreciate that. You know, what I would say is I did take the leap, but you also pushed me over the edge 4 times, right? So I
did push you over the edge.
Yeah,
I did. I kept pushing you to the edge and it didn't work. So finally I was like, all right, Andrew, I'm going to push you off the edge because I trust that you, like so many people, are going to find the way or make the way once you actually take the leap. And I think like that's just really important for us all to recognize is that there is no such thing as the right time. Action is the only thing in life that truly matters. And a lot of people, I think, spend their entire lives waiting for permission to pursue the vision and the goals that they have for themselves. And you were no different than that. And like, that's not bad. That's not good. That's not ugly. That's just the reality. And the only thing at times that can get us over the edge or off the edge, as you said so well, is by being pushed and held extremely accountable by others in our lives. And unfortunately or fortunately, that's exactly what I found the need to do with you.
Exactly. And I totally agree with you. The key to change is action, but not only action, you really need to infuse strong emotion. I think that's really key. So let me ask you, like, how does your journey start in entrepreneurship? Where did you get that drive to learn that, you know, you wanted to design a beautiful life, you wanted to seek wealth? Because I don't think you came from
no
background, right?
No, my parents are incredible human beings. Grew up in Wisconsin. Dad worked at the same company for over 35 years. Mom was the president of the local chamber of commerce. Neither very entrepreneurial, but what I will tell you, Andrew, is both very servant-based. And what I mean by that is like they were always willing to help, volunteer for things, coach things, referee things. Like they were just always of service and in service to others and to me and to my sister. But growing up, I just knew I was a little bit different. I remember in about 6th grade, I got very bored with school. Like it just naturally kind of came easy to me. And so I started to become more of a class clown because I just didn't quite fit in that sort of like academic world, if you will. And then when I was in high school, I was very lucky to work at a country club. Now, I didn't have the most glamorous job. I worked in the locker room as a shoe attendant, which basically means I clean shoes and make sure that there's spray sunscreen for a bunch of naked dudes to use before they go play golf. Like it wasn't glamorous, but it was proximity.
Totally.
And I was in this little room, in this locker room, around a bunch of very successful guys who were all talking about business and about life and about what they were up to. And I'll never forget, there was this one guy by the name of Mr. Altman, and he was an incredible guy, just an incredible member, and he was always playing golf. And I remember one day I finally built up the courage and I said, like, hey, Mr. Altman, like, I'm just curious, like, what do you do for a living? Because, like, my mind at 17 years old was like, all this dude does is golf, and I want that life. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget, he looked at me, Andrew, and he said, there's a million ways to make $1 million. I created a hair care product that just so happened to do very well in the African-American community that was later bought by Walmart. And I'm blessed that I won't ever have to work another day in my life. And I was like, wow, a white Jewish dude from Wisconsin created a hair care product that was bought by Walmart. Like, if he could do that, what am I capable of doing?
Yeah.
And again, I always had this vision in my mind that I'd be a millionaire by the time I was 30. And I always had this sort of belief or this notion that I would do it through business. I've always loved
Mm,
the action of business, the operations of business, the hustle, the grind. I mean, another thing growing up, I watched a ton of Rob Dyrdek. Rob and Big was my favorite show. And I loved it
okay.
because he was pursuing a vision that he had for his life every single day. And because it was so unique or different, MTV said, we got to make this a TV show. And what he did a phenomenal job of, I think, at least from the outside looking in, was business and life were all one and the same. And I think oftentimes we make the mistake by thinking we're going to have these separate buckets or separate gardens of our life, and they're not going to be able to like intermingle amongst each other. And really, I recognize, like, if I want to have this life that I want and dream of, the only way to do it is to have everything mixed together in one big sort of melting pot. And I just got the entrepreneurial bug. Took a job from one of the other members at a country club doing custom t-shirts.
Mhm.
Was working there for a long time. Got sideways with the owner. He thought I should be working more than 60 hours a week at 23. I just didn't feel like that was, the right thing to do. So left his business, started my own business. My girlfriend at the time was moving across the country to Washington, D.C. I said, hey, I'm going to go with you. Got out of that business, moved across the country. Now today we're married, so it turned out to be the right decision. And just literally kept finding my way or making my way as a college dropout to continue to live the life that I had envisioned for myself, regardless of what the critics or the naysayers had to say.
So some common threads I see in your life is you thrive to serve, you thrive to provide value. That was instilled in you at a young age, right? And the other thing I'm really noticing is, like, nothing is too low for you to get the job done. You'll go in a naked man's locker room, scrub shoes if that's what it takes to get close to the people that will need to make you successful. And then lastly, like you mentioned, proximity is power. It's so important to be around other successful people, because then you could actually see, that there's actual truth to this potential vision, right?
Yeah, look, I think it was ingrained in me at a young age to live a life of service. But what really resonated with me at 17 was that service is the Trojan horse to knowledge. And what I mean by that is most people would have saw me as a locker room attendant, cleaning shoes, folding towels.
Totally.
What I saw myself as was a sponge in a small room, learning from all of these successful guys that candidly would not have given me the time of day had I not provided them a service. And what I found in that role was that the higher the quality of service, the more time the guys would give back to us, the locker room attendants. So it was like, what can we do such that we wow them so they stop at the window for 5 more minutes and we can ask them another question, or maybe be invited to caddy with them, or maybe be invited to golf with them. And the more time we spend with them, the more time we'll learn. And like, the last thing I'll say is, on these 3 concepts, they've really resonated across all gardens of my life, all facets of my life, and continue to be a thread that I continue to lean into. But when I was 23, I got to volunteer at this thing called GoBundance. And I was working for a mentor, a friend of mine at the time. His name is Pat Hyben. And he said, hey, I own this. I founded this thing called GoBundance. I'm an owner. You're going to go down and you're going to volunteer at this mastermind group. I'm like, okay, cool. Now, I got in the car and had to look up what is a mastermind. I had no idea what that was. But I went down to Orlando for a couple days and worked 17, 18-hour days. But again, I was in a room that I was not yet qualified to be in, could not afford to be in, and would never have been invited to. And I was there because I was making sure the waters were full and making sure the event went well. And one day, this guy by the name of David Osborne went to play golf with Rock Thomas. And they knew that I had worked at a country club. They knew I was a big golfer, and they had an additional spot in their foursome. So they invited me to play. Now, what I told them at the time, Andrew, I think changed the trajectory of my life, because what I told them was, I would actually rather caddy for you. I enjoy it far more. Now, the truth is, I do like caddying. And the other truth is, I do not like caddying more than I like golfing. But I knew if I was golfing, I would not be fully present to the conversation they were going to have. And this was a $50 million guy talking to a $20 million guy. And like, who am I to try to play golf with these guys? Why don't I just stand on the back of the cart give them the yardages, hold the flag stick, and hand them their golf clubs, because then I will be able to be fully present to the things that they're talking about in the conversation they're having. And it was a day that just absolutely blew my mind. But to the average person, they would have saw it as a day of me raking bunkers and cleaning balls. I recognized that I could actually learn more from them by being of service and in service in that moment than I could have from golfing.
You're absolutely right. So, I mean, proximity is power. And, that was honestly 4D thinking, in my opinion, is, rather than you wanted to actually play a game and enjoy yourself, you were more interested in sucking in the knowledge that these people can provide.
Yeah, I recognize that there may be other opportunities to golf with these guys, and that would only be true if I actually learned from them and applied what I learned to change my life. And now I'm incredibly fortunate to run David Osborne's family office and be able to golf with him all the time. Like, we play golf all the time. But I don't know if that story would still be the case had I chose to golf that day rather than caddy.
Okay, so you worked for somebody else, working 60 hours, got burnt out, tried to at your own entrepreneurial thing, didn't really work out, moved across the country, found this mastermind, dedicated time to it. And what happened next? Where did your life go?
Yeah, man. I mean, isn't that the $1 million question is what's going to happen next? So volunteered at the first GoBundance event. Awesome experience. Went back home to DC. Volunteered at the next GoBundance event, which was actually in Tahoe. And again, trying to be of service and in service. Mm-hmm. I was just naturally interested in what David was up to. Like, I remember going home and telling my wife at the first time I met him, I'm like, man, like, I just see myself in this guy. Like, he's got a million things going on. He's kind, he's humble, he's down to earth. Like, I really want to be around him more. So when we were at that second GoBundance event up in Tahoe, one morning he had asked me to go up to his room and get his ski boots. He was at a breakfast meeting, and he asked me to go to his room with his room card and get his boots because he forgot to bring his boots down. I was like, yeah, of course, no problem. So I took his card, went up to his room, got his boots. Well, I had known, Andrew, that evening his wife was flying into Tahoe. And when I got into his room, it looked like any guy who would be at a hotel by themselves. Like, it was a disaster. And I remember coming back down to the breakfast meeting with his boots. And I waited until the other guy he was meeting with kind of was distracted or walked away. And I said, like, hey, man, like, this is going to sound really weird, but do you mind if I clean your room? He's like, what do you mean clean my room? And he like looked at me like, are you nuts? Like, are you like some weird dude? I was like, look, I know Tracy's coming into town, and I just feel like if your room was a little more put together, it would go better for your marriage than if your room looks like it does now. And he's like, looked at me and he's like, no, you don't need to clean my room. I was like, okay, no worries, man. Just throwing it out there. And then he's like, actually, yeah, clean my room. Like, no problem. Thank you for asking. And he then, later was like, that was kind of weird. I was like, yeah, I told you it was kind of weird. He's like, but thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate that, because you are right. Tracy would have walked in and gone like, now I just get to come here to clean your clothes rather than do it at home. Like, this is stupid. And from that event, Andrew, I learned the power of having a 5-year vision. So I got on the airplane to fly back to Washington, D.C. again. And I, was in the back of Southwest, middle seat. And I pulled out my journal and I just started writing. And I started having a vision for my life. What David taught me at that event was if you don't have a vision for your life, the first person you meet every day will give you theirs. So I was like, dude, I don't have a vision for my life. I need a 5-year vision. And I literally was rewriting it and saying, like, I live in Austin, Texas. I work for David Osborne. Again, spending another week around him, I was just like, man, there's something about this guy. I want to be around him. Fast forward 2 weeks, and he calls me out of the blue. And I'll never forget, Andrew. I was so nervous when the phone rang because I was like, why is David Osborne calling me? Like, this guy, from my perspective as a 23-year-old, like, walked on water, right? Private plane, a lot of money, a lot of business, a lot of success. And he's like, hey, man, I think you're talented. What would it take to get you to Austin? I'm like, I've never been to Texas. He's like, well, yeah, but what would it take to get you to Austin? He's like, I think you're successful. My world is a mushroom cloud getting ready to explode in a good way. If I'm right, I think I have opportunity for you. If I'm wrong, you can move back to wherever the hell you came from. I was like, okay. So heads you win, tails I lose. Like, yeah, I'd love to check it out. So he flew my wife and I down to Austin. We checked it out, fell in love with the city, moved down a couple months later. And Andrew, I literally started off as the water boy. And I tell people that because I did not have a title. My job description was look over my shoulder and take shit off my plate. And so I was with David every single day, taking stuff off his plate, learning, listening, documenting, making notes, following up, like doing it all. But I was behind the curtain. I was behind the scenes. I was the guy that was seen but never heard. I didn't talk. I just was there to learn. I was there to be of service and to learn. And I just kept taking and taking more things off his plate until the point of which where he was like, hey, you're basically running the show. Here you go. Good luck. And then simultaneous to that, I saw an opportunity for us to do things a little bit different for the GoBundance Champions division. This is the group of GoBundance members who all have a net worth of greater than 10 million. And I just didn't feel like we were serving them at the level we needed to serve them. So I said to him, like, hey, man, I don't know if you believe in me. I don't know if you think I'm the right guy, but I think there's a different way to do this. And I think I know exactly what to do. And he said the same thing he said last time, like, if it works, there's an opportunity. And if it doesn't, I'll just fire you. Like, I don't care. So I started running the GoBundance Champions division. That was going well. And so then the rest of the founders of GoBundance, which was this community that essentially like raised the entrepreneurial version of me, came to me a couple months later and said, hey, you're doing such a good job there. We want you to run the whole thing. And so, that takes us to where I'm at today, which is the CEO of GoBundance. I still run David's family office. And in addition to that, along the journey, we've added 3 children, and life's just been an incredible journey of getting 1% better every day and trying to live the vision that I have for my life, not the vision that others may have for my life.
So there was so much packed in there. So I think let's first start off with vision planning and goal setting, because ultimately you're one of the best people I know when it comes to vision planning and goal planning. So what are some really good books that led you down the right path? And what are some really good strategies that help you come up with a good vision for your life?
The 2 books that changed my life, As a Man Thinketh and Think and Grow Rich. And it was, both of them are based off of the premise of having a mindset and understanding that life is going to happen for you and not to you. You have the ability to control the stories and the narratives you tell yourself. You have the ability to give meaning and labels to the things that occur inside of your life. And so why not look at it like a garden? Weed out the bad thoughts, weed out the bad stories, and water and nourish the good ones. In addition to that, the framework that changed my entire life was a very simple concept, and I call it R&D. Most people listening to this are going to say, wow, he does research and he develops. Well, newsflash, I dropped out of college, and college dropouts aren't very good at doing research. But what I am really good at doing is ripping off and duplicating. Success leaves clues. And the greatest form of flattery that we can give to anybody is to copy or emulate them. Like, if you thought about yourself growing up, Andrew, as a basketball player, and you went and bought Michael Jordan shoes, you weren't saying, I'm going to steal that and make it my own. You were going to say, if I wear these, maybe I'll play like Jordan. Maybe I'll hit that game winner. Maybe I'll be able to dunk from the free throw line, right? Like, if these shoes worked for him, maybe they'll work for me. And what I did with the goal setting is no different. I studied the people that were most successful with it, found a way to serve them so I could get close to them, and then I ripped off and duplicated what they were doing and put a little bit of my own flair on it. So studied what David was doing with his goal setting, served him endlessly to understand how he did it, why he did it, what worked, what didn't work, and then tweaked his system to make it my own that better served me and my agenda for my life.
Yeah, I mean, more or less just emulated great people, which is honestly the cheat code to success, in my opinion, right? So some really cool tools that I love about GoBundance that really help me stay accountable and really help me hold my vision true to itself is the concept of masterminds, kind of holding me accountable, right? And then the concept of like a one sheet, having all my goals in one place so I can look at it on a consistent basis. So kind of talk about those two tools and how, we utilize that in GoBundance to be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah. So the one sheet, I agree with you, is like a tool that totally also transformed my life. Like, I remember the first time I ever did my one sheet, my net worth was negative $30,000. And I was like, wow, that hurts. But now I'm aware of it. And once I become aware of it, I can actually do something about it. So this is good. And really, the one sheet was built off this notion of having a baseball card for your life. Like, if you think back to when we were kids, Andrew, we had baseball cards that we would like to collect. On the other side, on one side of the baseball card was the picture, the name, and the position. On the other side was all their stats. What was their on base percentage? What was their strikeout percentage? What was their at bats? What was their hits? What was their home runs? What was their RBIs? Like, you could see year over year what was the stats of this player. And
Totally.
all the information you needed to determine a player's success, at least from a statistical perspective, were on this baseball card. And so GoBundance created something similar, but for your life as a human being, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a husband, as a father. And all of the stats for your life are right there. What's your income? What are your expenses? What's your health stats? What's your bucket list adventure? What are the goals in each of the gardens you have for your life? What do you need help with? And what do you want to be held accountable with or for? And if you think about that, all of the things that are important to you are right there, because the gardens of your life are not just money based. It's health, it's relationships, it's contribution, it's spiritual. Yes, there is some money components, but that's just one of the pillars. There's also the family. There's everything wrapped into this baseball card. And if you showed me your one sheet, I could tell you where you're wanting to go with your life, what's important to you, where you're prioritizing things, how much money you have. Are you spending too much money? Are you saving too much money? Like, what does your life look like? Because all your stats are there. And then you couple that with the power of the mastermind, which I think you alluded to the importance of accountability. And don't get me wrong, accountability is something that is lacking in the world we live in today. But even more important than accountability is having a board of directors for your life that tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. So much of the world we live in today is surrounding ourselves with people who will tell us what we want to hear and not what we need to hear. What we want to hear is like, hey, Matt, Merry Christmas. Like, love that shirt. You're looking good. What we actually need to hear is, hey, dude, Merry Christmas. Looking like you gained 10 pounds. Anything I can do to help or support you?
Yeah.
Like, very different, right?
Yeah. Or like, hey, Matt, you're a good father. What we really should say is, hey, Matt, you're working 80 hours a week. Maybe you should spend more time with your children. Like, it's so accountability and honesty is so important, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I'm not saying that's the case for you. That was just kind of an example, No,
exactly. And, that's the power of the mastermind. And then, like I said, they tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And then you're held accountable to doing it. Like, okay, so in your example, like, yeah, I am working too much. What are we going to do about it?
Exactly.
All right. Every day, I'm going to commit to putting my phone down at this time and being home by this time. Okay, cool. Can you check in with us next Friday and confirm you did that? Yes. Okay, cool. Next Friday rolls around. Maybe I don't have the courage to reach out to you, but maybe you have the commitment to me and my life and say, hey, dude, did you do it?
Yeah.
And now if I know that there's that accountability there, like, you bet I'm going to show up to do what I said I'm going to do. Absolutely. Because my word is one of the most important things I have. And I want to be a man of my word. And so that's really where that accountability piece gets layered in there that I think truly can transform someone's life.
I totally love that. And, I think you and I have a deep love for business, and we very much treat our life the same way, in the fact that these one sheets very much act as our business manual and how we want to lead our lives, right? It more or less, we have our board of directors, we have our KPIs, our key performance indicators, our metrics that we have to follow to get the goals we want, right? We have bosses that keep us accountable. Are you doing what you said you're going to do to meet your goals, right? So that's why I think business is so powerful, because it translates to so many aspects outside of business.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
Yep. So, I think you kind of glossed over one really important point. It's like, you're a CEO of GoBundance, which is a very large organization, but you also lead a very large family office simultaneously, right? So what's your thoughts on kind of asset allocation in general? Because you've built quite the portfolio over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I think one of the things that you have to be very careful of is shiny object syndrome. And a lot of us in the world are looking for the magic bullet that's going to get us to where we want to go faster.
Okay.
And in reality, Andrew, there is no magic bullet. There is no such thing. The only thing you can do is go a mile deep in your area of expertise, harvest all of the fruits that you possibly can from that going a mile deep. And then at that point, you can talk about going a mile wide. And so I think when you think through asset allocation or portfolio composition or makeup, one of the mistakes that most people make is they read the books and they read the studies, and it's like diversification. Like, look, if you want to live a very safe and steady and fine life, working a 9 to 5 and retire at 65 and live off of your 401k and have a certain plan, like that's a great path for you. And by the way, there is nothing wrong with that. But if you truly want to do it differently, I actually think diversification is one of the worst things you can do in sort of the acceleration of your wealth, because all it does is it forces you to put money into areas that you're not an expert at. And when I had the privilege of meeting a really successful family that actually owns a professional baseball team, I sat down with them and I said, hey, talk to me about risk. How do you guys think about risk? And what their CEO told me was risk is just a lack of knowledge or a lack of controls. We don't take risks. And like that hit me, Andrew. Like when you think about asset allocation, when you think about your portfolio, look at your portfolio from a risk perspective using that lens. What things have I invested in that I don't truly understand and or I do not have a path to control of? And that's one of the things that I really love about what you're doing is you are going a mile deep in the asset class you know, in the market that you understand, and you are not deviating from that at all. You know there's enough opportunity in that market to harvest all the fruits you could desire in this moment. And there's a lot left on the bone for you to go pursue. Now, at some point, Andrew, you will recognize like, wow, we've dominated this market. I think I've harvested all the fruit there is to harvest. Let me go look elsewhere. But you're not allowing distractions from the outside world to come in and stop you from going that mile deep. So you go a mile deep in what you know and what you understand, generally speaking, with a path to control. And once you've gone that mile deep, now we can talk about truly asset allocation and like diversification and going outside of your area of expertise or your zone of genius.
Totally. And full transparency, you know, I've definitely got shiny object syndrome. I've took my eye off the ball. Like, you know, I've went down a whole rabbit hole of doing flips when my zone of genius is multifamily value add. And, you know, I got bit for it. But, you know, it showed me that, to your point, the key to building true concentration of wealth is a mile deep, an inch wide. In my particular case, value add multifamily. So let me ask you this, Matt. So, you know, you managed the family office. What was your zone of genius for your particular investing thesis? Because you brought his portfolio, I believe, from what, like 30 million to 1 or 200 million over the course of 7 years.
Little over 50 to around 200. You know, really what I learned, and it took me probably, I've been there 13 years. It probably took me like 9 years to find my voice, Andrew, because I just needed to learn and I needed to absorb and I needed to earn the opportunity that when I spoke, it actually had some weight to it. A lot of people just throw out their opinions and, you know, we all have them, but they're just opinions. What I really have us focusing on is around that control piece. I think, are better than most at picking talent and getting in business with talent. And we are better than most, I think, at understanding the game of business. And so really what we're focused on is building businesses that are evergreen and are cash flowing. Maybe we have the ability to sell them someday, but that's just a bonus. We're not getting lost in technology startups or oil and gas. Like, yeah, we do some investing there, but we always invest in the human. One of my favorite sayings that we use is we never let somebody learn how to shave on our face. Like, if they don't have a ton of money in the game, and if they haven't been doing this for a really long time, like, we are probably a no. We're not going to put money there. Not because they're going to lose, not because we don't like them, but because our track record shows us that betting on winners is far better than betting on first timers. Like, we just have a higher likelihood of success. And so when you allocate capital, the most important thing to do is to think about what Warren Buffett says. Rule number 1 is to protect your downside or protect your capital. Rule number 2, see rule number 1 through. So it's like, how do we not go backwards? As long as we're not going backwards, we're going to be okay. And if we can set ourselves up to never cap our upside and continue to move forward, like, then we can really win in a cool and meaningful way. We love operations. We love business. We love talent. We love real estate. Outside of that, we won't dabble in a ton of things in a very meaningful way from an asset allocation perspective.
That reminds me of a really good book, The Hands-Off Investor. It more or less teaches you how to be an LP in other investing classes. But the most important thing about that book is, like, the most important aspect of a deal is not the deal. It's not the market. It's the operator. It will always
That's
be the
everything.
operator, right? And I've seen good operators take a shitty deal good, and I've seen bad operators take a good deal bad and turn it bad, right? And I think that's one of the most important components, right? And I think the other thing you mentioned is cash flow. I think Warren Buffett buys businesses based off a multiple of its cash flow, and you are more or less do the same thing with building your family office, right? So
That's right. Yeah. Cash is like the lifeline of business. And I remember coming out of COVID, Andrew, like cash is trash. Cash is trash. Like that was all the headlines, right? Like your cash is depreciating at a faster rate than appreciation is occurring. So if you have cash, you're actually losing, which was all just a narrative that people had to try to get others to deploy cash. I don't know of a time in history where eventually cash didn't become king. And the more cash you have, the more options you have to choose personally, professionally,
totally.
health, all of it, right? And so we really focus on cash flow.
Absolutely. I think to your point, it's extremely important to have strong reserves and strong cash, because when an opportunity presents itself, and it's flush an opportunity, a lot of times cash is not existent, right?
If you don't have cash, you can't take advantage of the deal.
So let's kind of wrap this up and kind of talk about your really cool, amazing journey where your goal is to raise $1 million for underprivileged women and children.
Yeah. So what I recognized in life, Andrew, is I am on a mission to challenge the status quo. The challenge the status quo that I've given myself, to challenge the status quo that others have given me, and to do something every year that scares me. I mean, Jesse Itzler talks about this as being a misogi. Other people will talk about this as being a spirit driver. Some people will call it a bucket list adventures, and some people will just call it a crazy effing idea. But every single year, I set out to challenge the status quo that I have identified for my life. 2021, I rode a bull. 2022, I was recovering from a double ruptured Achilles tendon. 2023, ran a marathon. Like I've just done something every year that scared me, that's challenged the status quo of what I had for my life. And so when I was starting to plan my goals for 2026, I got fortunate to meet this guy named Matt Johnson, who was running across Texas to raise $100,000 for veterans and getting them back into community through CrossFit. And I went out and ran with him for a day or for a morning and was just incredibly inspired by like this man going on the road for 19 days, running like 40 to 50 miles every single day for a cause bigger than himself, likely for people that he would never meet. And I was like, man, what could I do that would be really cool? And as I started ideating on the drive home from that run, it kind of dawned on me that I couldn't ride my bike across Texas because this dude just ran across Texas twice. So that would kind of make me look like a weak human being. And I was like, well, what if I rode my bike from Mexico to Canada? And I was like, well, that would be crazy. I'm not a bike rider. Like, I don't even remember the last time I rode my bike. I can barely shift the damn thing. And I was like, okay, well, like, for what? And I thought to myself, like, what about to raise money for overlooked communities and provide direct impact to the people inside them? And as I was sitting there, I was like, yeah, that'd be really neat. Like to actually see the mom, see the kids, see the family, understand their troubles, understand what they've been experiencing, and provide them with a solution. Maybe it's not a long-term solution, but a solution in the moment to make their life just a little bit better and to show them that they're seen and they're heard and they're valued and they're loved. And then as I started thinking through, like I could raise 100,000, I was like, yeah, 200,000. Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm put a flag in the ground. I'm going to raise $1 million to ride my bike from Mexico to Canada. And along that journey, we are going to provide direct impact in overlooked communities to the people that live inside them. And I was like, I could take 20 days, 30 days, whatever it was. I hired a crew chief. He's like, yeah, I think it'll take us like 16, 17 days. I'm like, how can we do it faster? He's like, you have two options. One, you can buy an electric bike, or two is you can just ride longer. I was like, well, I'm not going to do an electric bike, so I guess I'm going to ride longer. So we backed into this math, Andrew, where I will basically ride 150 miles a day on average for 13 days in a row to go on this mission and on this journey to ride my bike from Mexico to Canada. We're going to document the entire thing. There's going to be YouTube videos that drop every single day featuring the video, featuring the story from the day before, social media. There's going to be a ton of content that gets dropped on it, not to brag, but to show people just how much you can change somebody's day and maybe even somebody's life if you just pause and say, hey, Andrew, tell me about your story, man. Hey, Andrew, let me buy you a coffee. hey, Andrew, let me buy you that sandwich. Do you mind if I sit with you and learn a little bit about you? Like, just stopping and seeing people is where I think there's a real opportunity for us in this world. And so we're going to tell the whole story to show people what direct impact truly looks like, to show them the good, the bad, the ugly of a non-cyclist cycling for that long. Show them the GoBundance members and the other riders that are going to come ride with me throughout the journey. And my hope, Andrew, is that through the storytelling, we just inspire one person to just change their day a little bit and say, rather than just buying my Starbucks, I'm going to buy it for the guy in front of me and the guy behind me. And then while we're waiting for the coffee to be made, I'm be like, what's your story, man? Tell me what's going on. What's your story, ma'am? Tell me the story. What's going on? And just hear people. Sometimes just them articulating what they're feeling is all they need and is help enough. And just really try to encourage people to pause and see those around them for who they are, not for that's just another person in front of me at Starbucks that's slowing down my ability to get my matcha tea latte grande thing fast enough.
That's incredible. I mean, it's truly an impact. So it sounds like you're literally going to be giving away money to local communities that need these funds, right? So, like, walk us through what does that look like? Is it going to be like a failing small business? Like, how's that look exactly?
Yeah, there's really 3 buckets of giving. One is our organization to another organization. So in certain communities, we're going to meet up with the big brothers and the big sisters. Totally. Or in Oklahoma, we're already slated to meet up with a group that provides benefits and aid to families of children with special needs, because the state of Oklahoma doesn't do much for those families. So there's going to be one component of our giving where it's organization to organization. But candidly, Andrew, I don't love that a ton, because so often we give money to these organizations. We trust that they're doing good with it, and I'm sure they are, but we never get to see it. We never get to hear the stories. So the other 2 ways we're going to give, I think, are far more important. One is we're going to have the ability for people to submit nominations for us to spotlight certain individuals. So if people go to GoBundance.com/the ride, they will be able to see a nomination form and say, wow, you're going on that route and my cousin's brother's uncle's sister's house burned down and her 3 kids are living in a motel. They lost all their clothes. Like, maybe you could talk to them. Okay, cool. We'll take that in. We'll look at it, and we may choose to spotlight them. The last way, Andrew, I think is going to be really the most fun. Myself, the GoBundance members that come with me on this journey, we're going to just go into these businesses, go into these restaurants, go into these stores, go into these places on the journey in these random cities we're at, and we're just going to talk to people, and we're going to hear what's going on in their life, and we're going to provide them with whatever they need. So I envision it, because I'm a big visualizer, of the GoBundance guys that are with me in, let's say, Seguin, Texas, riding a little bit in the morning, jumping ahead to where we're going to end north of Land Passes that day, and they'll go to a local restaurant, and they'll find the single mom working 3 jobs who has to take an Uber to every job because she can't afford a car. And they'll hear that story, and they're going to radio back to us who are still riding our bikes and saying, like, dude, we found the story. It's Tiffany. She needs a car. Okay, great. Call this group. We know this guy. Great. We bought a car. By the time we get there on the bike, we're going to be able to hand the keys to Tiffany before she leaves that shift at the restaurant, and like literally show up for her with whatever she needs in that moment. Here's the keys. Here's the title. Oh, you needed your apartment furnished? We got a U-Haul outside. Do you mind if we bring this all in and set this all up? Oh, you need an apartment? Hey, let's go pick one out right now. Oh, your kids need to have something paid for them for college, for high school, for whatever? Great. Let's go pay the bill. You need to get out of debt? Great. Let's pay it off. And like, not just providing the benefit to the communities, providing the benefit directly to the people who need it, looking them in the eyes and saying, like, I see you. I hear you. Do not quit going. We got your back, and showing up that way. And man, I'm just really excited to provide that direct impact, to hear the stories, to see the people that deserve to be seen in the communities that are often overlooked. And I'm also slightly enjoying, in a weird way, like the struggle of the bike ride, because 150 miles a day on a bike is on average 10 hours a day, assuming I can maintain my 15-mile-an-hour pace. 10 hours doing anything is a long time. 10 hours riding your bike on that seat is a really long time. And then doing it for 13 days in a row, something tells me it's going to be no joke.
I love that story. You know, that really reminded me of, you're like a modern day Santa Claus, obviously without the beard. I mean, I got the beard, but that's probably why you want him to shave it. But you're just going around from pit stop to pit stop, providing wonderful opportunity to people in need. It's an absolutely magical goal, and I commend you for it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And I think, ultimately what I would say is just the world needs more average people chasing ambitious goals and seeing what the journey looks like on the way. I'm just an average dude, man. Put my socks on the same way everybody puts their socks on. Same average mediocre cyclist that any sort of Tom, Dick, or Harry would be if they rode bikes growing up as a kid, but haven't touched one really since. And when I think I look at my life, what I really want to live a life of is my kids someday will have to bury me, God willing, and they'll say, man, he really lived everything he stood for. And his life is one that I would be proud to live. And like, that's ultimately what I'm chasing. That's ultimately what I'm pursuing. And I think, even if you fail along the way, at least people in the stands, when they're throwing popcorn at you and yelling, can't say he didn't have the courage. Can't say, wow, I give him credit for being in the arena. Yeah, sure, they might be able to say he didn't make it, but they'll be doing that from the seats because they don't have the courage to get in the arena themselves.
Absolutely. You always want to leave it all on the table.
That's it, man. That's it.
Let me ask you, if you could give 3 pieces of advice to yourself, to your younger self, to be the successful man you are today, what 3 pieces of advice would you give?
Take risks, fail early, and fail often. Like, take more risk, take more risk, take more risk. I mean, when I look back on my life, I took a lot of risks. I wish I would have taken more.
Totally. I mean, as you can see, you've accomplished so much in the, 13, 14 years you've been part of GoBundance. Imagine if you started earlier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. One book you couldn't live without.
As a Man Thinketh.
I haven't read that one. I'll think of it a read.
So it's a tough read because it's like very old English, and it really requires you to sit and focus and be present and highlight and underline and sticky note. But the principles and the concepts inside that book, man, changed everything.
Is that by Marcus? Who's that by? Marcus Aurelius?
No, it's by like James Allen or something like that.
I'm thinking the wrong book.
Yeah, it's very old English. I think it's at home. Yeah, it's As a Man Thinketh.
One habit that contributed to your success.
Wake up really fucking early.
How early are we talking?
Right now, I wake up at 3:07. Go to bed at 10 o'clock.
3:07. Why 3:07? Why the extra 7? You need to hit the snooze button.
I hate even numbers. And 3 o'clock, 3:07, like I just love the number 7. And so 3:07 is where I landed, and 3:07 is where I stayed. And every morning my alarm goes off at 3:07. I get up, get out of bed, and go to work. Go to work on the vision I have for my life. Hit the gym, journal, read, reflect, meditate, sauna, cold plunge, red light therapy, train for the bike ride, train for whatever I'm up to. And so then I have way more time in a day than most people are willing to take. And I realized, Andrew, at a young age, like we all have the same 24 hours. Like
Totally.
It doesn't matter how rich I am or how broke I am. I got the same 24 that you've got. And so what do? I just try to maximize the time I've got.
The more high productive you get, the more you realize for you to even achieve a quarter of what you do, you have to focus on self-care. It's impossible otherwise.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What does living a purpose-driven life mean to you?
Man, it means chasing ROJ, not ROI, which means most investors will chase the return on investment. For me, and in my life, I am purely chasing return on joy because I have yet to attend a funeral where a U-Haul followed the casket with all of the shit and all of the assets that the person accumulated. The only thing following you to the burial site is your friends, your family, and the memories and the moments y'all made along the way. And all I'm doing is trying to make as many of those moments as I possibly can.
I love that. So to wrap this up, Matt, where can people connect with you?
Yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, mattking.atx, we got videos dropping all the time on YouTube, the podcast, The Matt King Show, which you were on. YouTube, mattking.atx, people can see you driving a tractor, almost getting smoked by a longhorn, having your first sort of day on the ranch, or just GoBundance.com. We have all the information about the ride at GoBundance.com/the ride. It's all on my social media, all on GoBundance's social media. And if anybody wants to ride with us, there's a way people can sign up to ride with us for a day. You don't have to do the whole day, do a mile, do a minute, do 10 miles. I don't care. donate. We're going to have a wheel of pain, if you will. So if you want to see me suffer on the journey, certain donations are going to trigger certain things, like maybe riding a bull in Stephenville, Texas, or doing some hot sauce challenges, or wearing a tutu or a little skirt while I'm riding the bike. And if you don't want to follow along at all, but you just want to see the stories, like, do it. My only ask would be, like, take action from it. Buy somebody a coffee, buy somebody a lunch, see somebody differently the next day than you did the day you currently are living.
Amazing. Amazing. So if you want to give to an amazing cause that you can actually see the impact, they're going to be posting these stories of the impact he's going to be making in each of these communities. Definitely give to this amazing cause. So I just want to
man. And what I would tell you is, like, the goal is $1 million. We're at 288,000 as of today. And we're just getting started. We've got literally, as the time we're recording this, we got 79 days till the ride actually begins. And we're already over a quarter of the way there to the goal.
Let's go. Well, let's get it to that million. Just want to thank Matt for coming on the Freedom Real Estate Podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure learning about his story, growing from a small town to the CEO of GoBundance, leading a family office, and raising over $1 million for underserved children and women. So amazing story. Thank you, Matt, for coming on. Catch you at the next Freedom Real Estate Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me on.